Hi guys, and welcome to a new news episode. There's not that much new information out there for today. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a bunch about the Go Battle League and a little bit about the current egg pool. So we know that at the moment we are still in the Ultra League, but the Ultra League is finishing very soon, and then we'll be going to the Master League, but also the Premier Cup, which is going to be there for the first time. I'm going to start here with an article from the Asian Milkman. This is, you could say, a famous PvP player. This is someone who has been at the top of the rankings with different kind of teams. Yeah, he's just a player that you've probably heard of. So he's saying here he has hit rank 10 in the Ultra League, and he's saying without any of the big four. You can see here he used a team of Tokis, Snorlax, and SKVA. So we can see it on Tokis, he prefers Aerial Ace over Ancient Power. Well, for Snorlax he's going with Earthquake as a second move, and then SKVA counter Drill Run Mega Horn. So you have also, I don't know the name of it, but there's also a move for SKVA, a Poison type move, Poison Jab or something, that does almost no damage but lowers the opponent's defense. Clearly he's going for the two hard-hitting moves instead, with Drill Run and Mega Horn. So, now he's going to talk about all of the matchups against Swampert, Registeel, Giratina, Cresselia, Charm Users, Lapras, and Pokemon that give a potential issue. So you can read this article if you want yourself. Clearly, this team has a lot of potential, as somebody was able to hit rank 10 with it, and there are not that many people who have hit rank 10. Now Ultra League is only there for 1 or 2 more days. What you can do is practice with this team, and if you feel that this team has potential, it's working well for you, then yes, we will be going to the Premier Cup and the Master League, but after that all leagues will be available, and then you could go and continue with this team in the Ultra League if you want. Then I have this really big article here. So I actually already made an episode, but it turned out to be 30 minutes, which I felt was a little bit too long. So I am not going to read this whole article this time, but it has something to do the mechanics behind PvP fast attacks and how to potentially use them. And it has something to do with the way that fast attacks are counted. And he's saying that if 2 fast attacks are at precisely the right time, precisely the same time, opponent and yours, then the fast attack is not counted immediately, but it gets only counted after the next fast attack. And this leads to scenarios where one of the Pokemon is able to get a charged attack in first, where it shouldn't without this glitch. And then it's a fast attack sneaking. There's also a way that you can get 1 extra fast attack in to make sure that you do get CMP, and that is apparently by holding up on your fast attack in certain scenarios. So this has been going on for a long time already. You can see that this article is from a year ago, but it was only brought to my attention recently. And I feel that this strategy that you can use to hold off on the fast attack so you can get the CMP tie is very advanced and is only going to work in specific scenarios, so you have to be pretty much an expert PvP player and look at specific scenarios where you can use this strategy. So I just wanted to let you guys know that this strategy is out there. If you want to read it, go here. It's going to take some time probably to let it all sink in to fully understand it. But if you're into PvP, then I would definitely advise to read this if you're into PvP in a more experienced way, I guess. Next we are going to the Premier Cup. So the Premier Cup will be coming in around 1 or 2 days. Yeah, this is going to be the first time the Premier Cup is airing, that people can play in the Premier Cup. So these restrictions are no legendaries and no mythicals. That also means that the mythical Pokemon Male Metal cannot be used. And other than that, obviously the Giratinas and the Dialgas and the what else do you have? You got Groudon, you got Kyogre, they can all not be used. We can see here from PvP Poke, he has listed some of the top Pokemon. So we got Metagross here. Besides Metagross, we've got Snorlax, Togekiss, Dragonite, Garchomp, Mamoswine. We got Magnezone. And yeah, Conkeldurr, Machamp, Milotic. Those are the strongest Pokemon, apparently, for the Premier. We can see it's better if we go to this picture here. So we can see the Premier picks being Metagross, Togekiss, Dragonite, Snorlax, Swampert, Garchomp, Conkeldurr or Machamp, Magnezone and Gyarados. Now, if you don't understand how these graphics work, the Pokemon that are listed in blue, it means that this Pokemon, this Metagross, has positive matchups against the Pokemon in blue. So it has a positive matchup against the Togekiss, Dragonite and Machamp. The Pokemon in red, so you can see here Garchomp, Swampert and Gyarados. Metagross will have a bad matchup against these Pokemon. So that's how that works. You can see that the best movesets have been listed. So yeah, with certain Pokemon have several options. I like to think at the Garchomp, for example, which has both Sand Tomb and Earthquake. And Sand Tomb is the move that isn't so hard hitting. So you've got Sand Tomb, which isn't a hard hitting move, but it does make sure that your opponent's defense get debuffed. So your opponent's defense that will drop, and then your next attack will obviously do more damage. Instead, you could go for straight Earthquake, which will do a lot of damage. So it's always tough to know when you have to shield against Garchomp and when you don't shield. And yeah, got Outrage as well, then obviously. Then you got counter picks. So these are the Pokemon that can take down the top contenders. So these being the top contenders. And then you can use a Milotic, Mamoswine, Rhyperior, got Taplosion and Charizard to counter these. And then we've got Gengar. So Gengar will only be viable with Shadow Punch. And Shadow Punch is coming for the Community Day. Community Day is on the 19th of July, I believe. Which means that at the start of the Premier Cup you will probably not see any Gengars at all. But as soon as the Community Day is over, you are probably going to see a big rise in Gengars being used in this league. And then finally there are some example teams here. So we can see here from PvP Poke, Dragonite and Metagross are going to be the most important Pokemon, he's saying. So either put those in your team yourself or use Pokemon that counter those. So we can see here Metagross and Dragonite in the last 4 teams here. And the first team is actually without Dragonite. It's Metagross, Snorlax and Togekiss. So you can see they either go with a Togekiss or they go with a Dragonite. But every team, except for this one, has a Metagross. So you can be sure that many people are going to use Metagross in this league. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this league is going to play out. For now we only have simulations and the best possible analysis from the PvP experts. But we'll have to see once it actually goes live what kind of teams are going to be used. There's definitely going to be some switch-ups, I would imagine. So I'd also advise you to follow the top PvP channels out there, like Psionic, FB Sticks, and Kiyang, for example. You got others as well, Poke AK, and I'm sure there are some that I forget. But yeah, then you can see what kind of teams are going to be highlighted, which teams are doing a good job, and then you can choose one of those teams yourself. Poke AK has made a video. He has also put the top contenders here. So yeah, you can check out his channel. And Psionic also has made videos. We can see this is the best Pokemon for the Premier Cup that he's stating here. We can see from the picture here that these are going to be the most used Pokemon according to him. And he has also made a Premier Cup team building guide. And you can see that the basis of this guide is this. You have a lead, you have a cover. So for example, if you lead with a Swampert and somehow your opponent has a Venusaur, then you can have a cover as a Charizard. Because then you switch into your Charizard and you have a positive matchup against Venusaur. And most likely your opponent will switch as well. You could also go for a safe switch. You could say like, I'm going to lose this lead-up matchup, but my cover is not the best option here, so I'm going straight to the safe switch, which could be something like a Snorlax. And why is it called a safe switch? This is usually a Pokemon that has many good matchups or decent matchups, meaning that it's unlikely that you're going to be hard countered. So if you go into the safe switch, then most likely you'll be able to get your opponent to low health. You might not win the matchup, but you could get it to low health. So yeah, that is Psionic. Go check out his channels as well. He always has good videos. Then I want to go to the Master League. We'll have to see if people are going to play Master League or the Premier Cup, but I would imagine that only the people who have been successful in Master League are going to play the Master League. And the people who have not been successful in the Master League are going straight to the Premier Cup, which means that probably the Master League is going to be a very tough league to play in. PvP Poke is saying here, Master League is around the corner, which means it's time for a new starter pack. Even with all the new faces, Dialga plus Kyogre remains almost unbreakable. So Dialga plus Kyogre and any other top meta Pokemon will likely be the meta line to beat. So he is saying here, the Premier picks. These Pokemon are best in class in the Master League. So you can see Dialga being right there at the top. We can see Kyogre here. And Groudon is now a top pick. And that is mainly because of Fire Punch. So we know that a couple of weeks ago, during those weekly events for every region, when we came to the region of Groudon, you could get one Groudon from the limited research, and that Groudon did in fact have Fire Punch. It is also possible to use a Elite Charge TM to get Fire Punch if you already had a 100% Groudon. And with Mudshot, Fire Punch, and either Earthquake or Solar Beam, Groudon is becoming one of the absolute best Pokemon in the Master League, according to the experts, according to the simulations. Because of course we haven't had any, we haven't had Master League since Groudon has Fire Punch. But yeah, you can probably see a lot of those. Togekiss is always a favorite for people to use. Its charm damage is just chunking away health from the opponent, which can lead you into scenarios where your opponent still has a shield left and you don't need to show a charge attack, you just fast attack it down. We got Melmetal with the Rock Slide and Superpower combination, generating a lot of energy fast and being effective against many Pokemon really. What else do we have? We got Mewtwo. You can now try go for a combination of Psy Strike and Shadow Ball if you want. We got Palkia. Zekrom is new with Wild Charge and Crunch. It's going to be one of the premier picks apparently. Dragonite is still there. The two Giratina versions, both strong. And Garchomp is also there. Garchomp is always a tricky Pokemon because you don't know if it's going to have Sand Tomb or Earthquake. Sand Tomb being the not so hard hitting move, but lowering the defense stat, I believe, from the opponent. And Earthquake is obviously pretty much a nuke. That's really a hard hitting move. And Outrage as well. So that's always a tough Pokemon. I've always had trouble with this Pokemon. Raiders roster. These top raid attackers will be a good addition to your team. So basically they're saying that you can get these Pokemon easily from raids. We got Machamp. I have used Machamp in the past before and I found it to be pretty useful. We got a Rhyperior, which of course has Rock Wrecker now, a really hard hitting move. They are definitely saying that Rock Wrecker plus Surf is the recommended moveset, even though it has also got Superpower and Earthquake, but they are not mentioning those moves at all. Metagross with Meteor Mash and Earthquake. Then we can see a Reshiram is a possible Pokemon to use with Overheat and Crunch. Swampert is still a really strong pick, both in the Ultra League in the Great League, and in the Master League you can use Swampert everywhere. And now you got Raikou as well as an option. I don't see that many Raikous being used though in the Master League. You got example teams here below. So as the PvP Poker said, the Dialga with the Kyogre combination is really strong. Here they are using a Giratina version, the altered one, and here they are using a Togekiss as a closer. And then some other teams here listed. If you don't know what the blue here means and the red here, basically blue means it has positive matchups. So you can see here Groudon has positive matchups against Dialga, Melmetal, and Metagross. But Groudon has weak matchups against Dragonite, Kyogre, and Palkia. So that's what that means. If we go to Master League here from Game Press, we can see here a list of the strongest Pokemon according to Game Press. So we have had PV Poke here, and this is Game Press. It's always, I've always found that Game Press is a very useful site as well, either though I don't hear that many people talking about it. So we can see that they moved Groudon to Tier 1. It wasn't there before it got Fire Punch, I'm certain of that. But now it is a Tier 1, 5 out of 5 ranking for Groudon. Dialga and Togekiss are also here. So Game Press is putting Kyogre slightly lower, not in the Tier 1. And you got Snorlax, which is always considered a great safe swap. And yeah, we can see many of the same top meta Pokemon that was also mentioned by PV Poke. So we can see Giratina Altered, Garchomp, Giratina Origin, Mewtwo, Dragonite. They've also put Zekrom high up in the list. Metagross, Melmetal, Swampert. Yeah. Then if we go to Groudon here, specifically from Game Press about Groudon, you can see here that the Groudon has basically no play in the Great League, very little play in Ultra League, but for the Master League it's really strong. And as a PvP moveset grades, you can either go for Mudshot, Fire Punch and Earthquake, or you can replace Earthquake with Solar Beam. Mudshot is recommended for its incredible energy generation, which lets Groudon access its powerful charge move sooner, but now also Fire Punch sooner. Fire Punch is almost mandatory due to its significantly cheaper energy cost, which gives Groudon more play with shield baiting, in addition to more consistent damage. Earthquake or Solar Beam can be elected for coverage. The former costs less energy than the latter and benefits from stab, while the latter provides coverage against counterpicks like Kyogre. So imagine going up against a Groudon. It's gathering a lot of energy and it's going to fire off a charge move. You have no idea if this is going to be a Fire Punch or an Earthquake. And if it's just a Fire Punch, then this Groudon is going to get to the next Earthquake or Solar Beam really fast. So you can see why this is going to be a very annoying matchup against to play. It's going to be a lot of guessing. You have to make your best guess if they're going to bait first or if they're going straight for the charge attack. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how people are going to play these matchups with Groudon. Finally, we're going to the egg pool here from the silphroad. So we can see here from the 2 km eggs and 5 km eggs and 10 km eggs. I'm just going to show you all of the Pokemon here. So we can see here Clamperl and Swablu. And other than that, these are all the Pokemon from 2K and 5 km eggs. And then what I could do is I could include region restricted. So you can see that these Pokemon could also come out of your eggs if you live in that area. But now, we're going to go look at the 10 km eggs. So the 10 km egg pool has Alomomola, Dino, Ferroseed, Klink, Exu, Litwick, Darumaka, Feebas, Gible, Shinx, Riolu, Audino, Golett, Timber, and Absol. So Dino, Exu, Gible, and Riolu are definitely the most interesting Pokemon from the 10 km egg pool. And you could argue that Timber is as well. But it is unlikely that these Pokemon have a high catch rate. I remember from previous egg pools that the hatch rate for something like Exu and Dino were the lowest possibility of all the egg hatches. So if you are not liking your standard egg pool, what you can do is you can go for the gifts, the 7 km egg pool, and it consists of Alolan Pokemon and Galarian Pokemon. We already knew that, but we have statistics now, which gives us a clear view of your odds at hatching certain Pokemon. We can see Galarian Darumaka here in the back, only 1.7% chance, and this is calculated over 422 egg hatches. So definitely not a big chance to get the Galarian Darumaka. It is a useful Pokemon though. Its evolution is a better rate counter than Mamoswine as an Ice type, so that's impressive. We can see the Galarian Zigzagoon is not that easy to get, with a 5.5% chance of hatching. Obstagoon is definitely very good in the Ultra League. You could argue that now that the Ultra League is ending, there's no reason to try and find it now, but you could still get it for the future. Alolan Vulpix we've got, Galarian Stunfisk, Alolan Diglett, Alolan Meowth, Alolan Sandshrew. We got Galarian Meowth here with a 10% chance, so better odds compared to the Galarian Zigzagoon. And Berserker is pretty good in PvP. I wouldn't say it's one of the best Pokemon, but it's definitely usable in the PvP scene. Galarian Farfetch'd we have here, well, Surfetch'd, when it's finally going to come, it does have PvP potential. We will have to see if it's going to be a good pick actually. It's always hard to speculate before it's actually have been used, but it does have potential with the moveset. Alolan Grimer and Alolan Geodude. So all of the Alolan forms could be shiny, and all of the Galarian forms have potential in PvP. So you could definitely argue that this is the better egg pool compared to the regular egg pool at the moment. Then finally we take a quick look at the Adventure Sync. So as you all know from the Adventure Sync, if you make 25 kilometers and you have an open egg slot, you can get a 5 km egg, and then you can, after 50 kilometers, you can get a 10 km egg. Now you can get both of these for making 50 kilometers. So that means that you need to have 2 open egg slots. If you only have 1 open egg slot, you might get the 5 km egg first and miss out on the 10 km egg. Now that being said, I don't think the 5 km egg pool is good. You get a Bronzor, which does have a 1 in 60 chance of being shiny, as it is para boosted, so that is the positive thing about Bronzor. But other than that, it has had a lot of events already, so I don't think anybody needs any more of them. We got Finian and Buizel, and no potential there. Snover, decent, also had a couple of events already. Croagunk is to me the most interesting Pokemon. As it has had events before, but it wasn't that easy to get shiny in my opinion. Furthermore, you could use a Croagunk in the PvP. And then we got Cambi. So you need to be very lucky to get a female Cambi, and even then Vespiquen is not useful in PvP or anywhere else. So not a great egg pool at all. The 10 km egg pool is better. So we got Dratini, Shinx, Bagon, Riolu, Larvitar and Beldum. So I feel like the experienced players already have no need anymore for Dratini, Bagon, Riolu, Larvitar and Beldum because they got a good one already. Riolu is a bit more tricky though, a little bit less chances for a good one there. So I think Riolu is still interesting to try and get a shiny. Shinx is decent. If you get the shiny, you're happy. If you're not getting the shiny, then you're probably not happy. But yeah, if you're a starting player, then these Pokemon are great. Because they, except for Shinx, they are all meta relevant. And well, either way, they all can be shiny. So if you are a starting player, you don't have good Pokemon from either one of these, then I would definitely advise to try and keep an egg slot open to get this 10 km egg. We know that Metagross is one of the absolute best contenders in the Premier Cup, and it is also really good in the Master League. So if you could get a really strong Beldum, that would be great. The only problem that you would have is that if you get the Beldum now, you cannot get the Meteor Mash move because it is a Community Day move. You would have to use an Elite TM or wait till December to get it. Alright, well that's everything I wanted to share for today. If more information comes out, I will make another episode. And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode.